What's going on, everybody? This is Mike, the Developing Dad, coming to you with a card chat. I don't really know what I'm going to call this. But I wanted to talk about Nuance and the death of the Christian male, of the strong Christian male, right? So what do I mean by that? Do I believe that nuance is a bad thing? Obviously not. I'm a rhetoric teacher. I'm a logic teacher. I understand defining terms clearly, making sure that your premises are true, that your logic is valid. I believe in the rhetorical appeals, ethos, pathos, logos, all of these things. I understand that. I understand that we need to be very sufficiently nuanced in certain positions. But I also believe that it is clear that the Bible calls men to stand firm in the faith and be strong. In 1 Corinthians 16, it tells us that, right? Act like men, be strong, stand firm in the faith. Paul admonishes us to do that. Then a lot of Christian leaders, or thought leaders, they don't mind doing that when it comes to positions that are clear, right? They'll stand firm against abortion, right? Oh, I believe that abortion is wrong. I believe that we should preach the gospel. I believe that we should stand firm against adultery. I believe that we should stand firm against, racism and things of that nature. Softball stuff, right? But when it comes to actually walking out these positions, or anything that could get them into trouble and reduce their clout among the world, right? Because the world is watching, right? And I wonder why they're not worried about whether God is watching, but the world is watching, right? But whenever there's a position that could get them into significant trouble with the culture, they'll nuance the position to the point where you can't make heads or tails of what they actually believe, right? There are many people out there that are becoming famous for this, right? A couple of people that, if you watched recently, A.D. Robles versus Ruslan KD, and then Seiko Woods versus Ruslan KD. Ruslan is is sort of prototypical nuanced to death type of Christian beta male, right? He never takes a firm stand on anything. I'm as a logic teacher and a rhetoric teacher, I understand the value of asking good questions. But eventually you need to come to a point where you've asked the good questions and you've come to a conclusion and you're willing to stand firm on that conclusion. I would never suggest anyone, especially if I'm raising my sons, if they were to turn out like Ruslan, I would be severely disappointed, because he isn't displaying godly Christian character with respect to the fact that he won't take a stand. And I'm just using him as an example, but there are many out there who are very similar. They'll take firm stance on certain things, again, but if you come to the point of women, like let's use for an example, women in the pulpit, women preaching, right? Soft complementarianism. Well, that's just egalitarianism cloaked in a nicer, it's I want to keep my conservative bona fides and give lip service to the fact that God calls only men to be the ones who preach and teach in the context of the local church, teach other men in the context of the local church. But I want to give lip service to a term. I'm going to change the term's definition. I'm going to nuance it to the point where you really can't pin me down on my actual position, which is egalitarianism. There's so many examples of this, right? And we've come to the point in our society where it's seen as a good thing to over nuance. Well, it's not really, like, not taking a stand is an ungodly position. Not taking a stand is unmanly. Take a stand, be bold, and live with the consequences. Now, you don't need to be unnecessarily divisive, but truth divides. Christ was divisive, not because he was overly divisive. I mean, well, he called the Pharisees and the religious leaders children of their father, the devil. And he says when the devil is the father of lies, and when he lies, he speaks from his own character. And he says that these men are his children. I mean, there's really you can't get any worse than calling someone the child of the devil. So take a firm stand on something. The weaselly character and weaselly words, it really becomes it's so unmanly that it's sickening almost. I mean, I'm trying to find the best words to describe it, but it's stomach turning to listen to men who've essentially become effeminate and effeminized So much so that they can't take a firm stand on something because they're too afraid and cowardly to do so. It really speaks to a lack of conviction. It speaks to a lack of fortitude. It's one of the Christian virtues, being willing to stand for what you believe. It's really unfortunate that that's become a sad reality that many Christian leaders, I would say even, men like Tim Keller, they won't take a stand on certain issues. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of these cowardly, effeminate Christian leaders who will not take a stand for what is right, what is good, what is godly. And it's time for us to call out the over nuancing of every position. Thus saith the Lord. Ask your questions, figure out what he says, and stand firm in that position. There are some things that are non-negotiables. There are some things that are adiaphoros. That means that, if you hold this position, God won't kick you out of the kingdom. But again, there's also a reality that if you're continually denying clear, perspicuous teaching from the Bible, we have to wonder: are you truly born again? Do you truly honor Christ as Lord? Have you sanctified him in your heart as Lord, and ready to make a defense, not afraid? I mean, again, when Peter was writing to the diaspora, these people were experiencing real suffering, and he was telling them to stand firm. Don't deny Christ at all. Sanctify him in your hearts and be ready. We at this point we haven't really gone through anything similar to what they've gone through with respect to persecution, and our religious leaders are already rolling over and giving the culture whatever it is that they want, denying Christ at every turn. Again, denying Christ isn't just opening your lips and saying Christ isn't Lord. It's living in such a way that you deny Christ as Lord. Holding positions that deny the reality of Christ being Lord. That's actually what it means to deny Christ as Lord. It's not just that, I'm just going to openly denounce him. Yeah, you have some that do that, but it's not always just that. It's not always... It's more intricate than that. You don't just get to say, I deny Christ as Lord, or openly and verbally. No, you can live in such a way that dishonors him and denies him as Lord. You can also hold positions that deny him as Lord. Again, you don't want to do that. That's not godliness. So I would say just make sure that, first of all, be watching for people who deny him with their lips and deny him with their lives, by over nuancing every position. Every position doesn't need to be over nuanced. It's not an issue of understanding hard doctrines, right? Because there are hard things that there's like eschatology and things like that. Yeah, we're going to have differences about that. Mode of baptism, that we're going to have instances where we disagree about that type of stuff. But on the rock solid things that God is very clear about in his scriptures, over nuancing is sin. And we need to be able to call that out. So I'll leave you all with that. I'm here to pick up my Chick-fil-A. So I'll see y'all on the next one. All right, grace and peace.